High's been the same time for the last few days and for about another 10 days, 5:20 Mountain Time in the morning, 7 o'clock.
Your home for Goodland High School athletics. 4 Days Tech Northwest Tech Tiger basketball, the Denver Broncos, as well as the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer. You're listening to Goodland's Rocket 102.5, KKCI FM, Goodland, Colby, and NWKS radio station.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The unrest in the streets of Los Angeles now in its 5th day, and President Trump is sending 2,000 more National Guard troops and 700 Marines to L.A. He says law and order must be restored. He's also blasting Governor Gavin Newsom's handling of the unrest, calling Newsom grossly incompetent. 13 people wounded and 3 killed. That's the toll taken by the latest Russian missile and drone attack on Ukraine. Ukraine's president saying it's the largest such attack of the 3-year-old war so far. A high school shooting in Austria has left 8 people dead. And in France, a 15-year-old student was stabbed a school worker to death during a bag check. On Wall Street, the Dow futures are up 8 points. More details, srnnews.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
Rocket 102.5.
Today will be much warmer with highs in the lower 90s. South-southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Dry as an upper-level ridge extends over the area, and lows will be in the lower 50s. Tomorrow, the highs will be again in the lower 90s. Breezy or more south-southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts to 25. Increasing humidity and moisture as the ridge begins to flatten and become more zonal. Short waves will start to move off the Rockies with daily chances for late-day showers and storms, though they are expected to remain to the west in Colorado tomorrow. However, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, storms will roll through in the evening, some possibly severe with large hail damaging winds, and temperatures remaining warmer than normal in the upper 80s to around 90. Lows will be in the upper 50s and low 60. Winds will generally be from a southerly direction less than 20 miles per hour, pulling Gulf moisture and humidity into the region. Sunday will be the warmest day in the mid-90s and dry. This meteorologist Chris Romick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Where is the best place to go to stream your favorite NWKS radio station? NWKSradio.net. Where should you go to find out what's happening in the area? NWKSradio.net. What's happening with local area sports? NWKSradio.net. Is the weather causing delays or cancellations? NWKSradio.net. Need tickets to the next big NWKS Radio event? NWKSradio.net. The place to go to be in the know. NWKSradio.net.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with Ultimate Fertilizer and gear up with Eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio is the place to turn to weekdays for the latest agriculture news and markets. Being a member of the National Association of Farm Broadcasters, we take pride in making sure you're informed of the latest news from the world of agriculture. Whether it's local, state, regional, or national, if it affects your farm or ranch, you can count on hearing it here. Daily reports from Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio are made possible by Farmers State Bank, Norder Supply of Scott City, Cornerstone Ag, and Woofter Construction and Irrigation.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
The amount of money getting thrown around to quarterbacks who haven't done diddly squat is amazing to me.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
Knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Covering it all from the preps.
Fastball swing and a miss and a strikeout there for Kaysen Cedarstrom.
To the pros.
Mahomes keeps it on an RPO at the 5. Gets a lead block. He goes into the end zone near side. Touchdown, Kansas City.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with the insurance agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
This one to center field. Denzel Clark on the move back after he stepped.
Oh my God!
Brady makes another catch.
Oh my God!
Back-to-back weeks where he wins the electric play of the week, and he's already on the leaderboard for this week.
You go ahead and book it. I've heard the list. I've seen the list of the greatest catches you are ever going to see in your life.
Oh, moving in on Skinner. Score! Bennett! 4-1 Ground ball to first. Ball game. Murray State has done it. Upset in Durham. The Racers race on to Omaha. High fly ball way back. Josh Naylor all the way to the wall, and it's a walk-off grand slam.
Off and rolling on a Tuesday morning. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz on Goodland's Rocket 1025, NWKSradio.net, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Thank you so much for tuning in here on this Tuesday. It's June the 10th, 57 degrees to kick off this morning. A beautiful morning here on the High Plains. Not much wind, just sunshine and nice cool temperatures, but not going to last all day. Going to be one of the warmest days we've had in some time, as we will warm our way up into the upper 80s, low 90s today throughout most of the listening area. So what I want to say, get excited, I guess, for some hot temps that are coming our way. Not only, of course, today, but coming up here the rest of the week. We'll have temperatures very similar to this all the way through the rest of this week, and then into the weekend, temperatures going to sky into the mid-90s on Saturday and Sunday. So some toasty weather on our way here this coming weekend. But like I said, plenty of sunshine and warmth here this week. Once again, so glad they're with us on the Morning Blitz. Lots to get to on today's program. Super stoked for a first-time guest here on the Morning Blitz coming up here in about 20 minutes. We will have the new leader of Goodland Cowboy basketball. Dawson Raymer is going to join us in studio today to discuss the future of Goodland Cowboy basketball. The former Cowboy himself, he was a dog. He was a dog in high school. I remember covering, and it's full circle. I remember covering him his junior and senior years. And then now he coming back to coach the Cowboy basketball team. He will join us in studio today. So look forward to having Dawson Raymer on the program to discuss Goodland Cowboy basketball. The Men's College World Series field is set. Some thoughts on that. It's a wonderful field, a fantastic field. We'll discuss that coming up here in our third segment of the day. But Aaron, in just a second, we're going to dive into the impact on regional colleges of the House versus the NCAA. Does it help or does it hurt regional colleges? We will get to that here in just a matter of moments. So once again, if you want to be part of the program, as always, the FNB Bank text line is wide open at 785-899-2222. That's going to be part of the Morning Blitz here on this Tuesday and every single day. Once again, another programming note. There will be no show Thursday and Friday of this week and early next week, as I will be out due to vacation. So no show once again Thursday or Friday this week or early next week. So please be prepared, as I will be taking some time off. So no show Thursday and Friday. Now, some of you will be very disappointed. Some of you who could care less, but that's okay. Just want people to know. So if they tune in, they're like, "Where's Ross?" Well, he's on vacation. All right, diving into this topic. And if you want to get, once again, your thoughts and comments are always welcome on the FNB Bank text line, 899-2222. So I was thinking about this yesterday. I know we talked about it in weekend winners and losers. Winners were college athletes, losers was college athletics. When it comes to the Friday news dump that was the new House versus NCAA getting approved by Claudia Wilkins, the Supreme Court judge. And this is not like news that was just completely out of left field. This was expected. In fact, it was probably a good week behind schedule. It was expected to be done before June 1st so that they could put this stuff into motion, and it took a little bit longer. They were trying to iron out a few kinks. Most of it had to do with grandfathering in student athletes that were walk-ons and stuff to get the number down to 105 for football, for example. Wanted to make sure that was all taken care of. That was one of the big things, and a few things they were trying to get ironed out. But as I thought about this yesterday, and it's still thinking about it today, how does this new House versus NCAA help or hurt regional colleges, your Kansases, your Kansas States, your Colorados, your Nebraskas? How does it help or how does it hurt? Who is set up to have success with this new format going forward? Once again, for those who don't know what the House versus NCAA is, it is a ruling that pretty much, and the big thing that we're getting at today is that going forward, starting this year, each and every college has the ability to give $20.5 million to their athletes. They don't have to give all of that, but that's the allotted pool that they can give. So now, once again, it pretty much, in the simplest terms, it now allows universities to pay student athletes to play for their university. This does not include scholarships. It does not include stipends. This is money on top, saying, yes, you're going to come here and play football at Kansas State. You're going to get a full ride. You're going to have books, tuition, all that stuff paid for. But we're also going to pay you on the side. So once again, just to use a local example. So Lincoln Cure now can go to Kansas State. Not only is he on a full ride scholarship to get books and tuition, all that stuff taken care of, his lodging, his meals, it's all taken care of. He's now getting a little extra cash on top of it. And that does not include an NIL deal from a local car dealership or something like that. He has the opportunity to have more money just paid from the university into his bank account. There's that opportunity. But it's at the university's discretion. If they want to spend that amount of money, they can spend up to $20.5 million. Some universities don't have that money. They don't have that extra money laying around to spend on student athletes. They just don't. And so it comes down to, if you do have it, what are you going to spend it on? If you don't have all that money, I mean, they're going to spend some money on student athletes. It just may not be 20.5. It may be 12.5. It may be 15. But 20.5 is the cap that the NCAA or whatever, whoever is in charge, who knows anymore, is setting, that this is the amount that you could spend. Because some colleges could spend $40 million on their student athletes. Some could only spend maybe $5 million, $10 million on their student athletes. And so 20.5, I'm guessing, is somewhere in the middle that they came up with this. That would be my best guess on that. So the question I have is, does it help or hurt your regional colleges? Does it help or hurt your regional colleges? And so I went digging last night to find some information on revenue based upon athletic departments, because this is going to be a big number. I'm not saying it's all the number, but it's going to be some of the big number. How much money did you spend as an athletic department, and how much were your expenses? Just like your typical household budget. But these are massive budgets for athletic departments. What did you spend in, travel costs? What did you spend in whatever? And it's always multiple of millions of dollars. The question is, yes, you spent all this, but did you make it all back to make a profit? Did you turn a profit, or did you have a loss? Most universities, most of them, and most athletic departments do not turn a profit. They are at a loss. Most sports don't turn a profit. Football usually turns a profit. Men's basketball might turn a profit. And then depending on what your other sports are, it could be baseball, it could be softball, it could be women's basketball, it could be it could be baseball. Doesn't matter. Could be another sport, depending on which university we are talking about. So in the example, I went diving. I was looking for what Kansas State Athletics most recent breakdown for fiscal year, and I found one for 22-23. So I know it's a couple of years back, but in the year of 22-23, now the department for Kansas State, the athletic department's revenue, the money they made in was $106.3 million. $106.3 million was their total athletic department revenue. That's money they brought in from, doesn't matter, could be sponsorships, could be television rights deals. All that money piled up, $106.3 million. The expenses they had a couple of years ago, good for them, $87.5 million. So when you look at it, they were somewhere around $20 million in the black. They were in a good spot. They were in a very, very good spot, according to this report that I read. So they were in the black by 20 million. But now, if we were to take these numbers, and I'm guessing these numbers are bigger now. I'm guessing the expenses are a little bit more, and department revenue is a little bit more, not only because of multiple factors, but it's probably more. And you look at these numbers, and you look at the, the 106 million is probably up some, but I bet you expenses are up. Travel's more expensive. Hotels are more expensive. Fuel's more expensive, whatever, buses or airplanes, whatever, it all costs more now. So it's probably more. So if they had $106.3 million made, and they spent 87.5, if you were to throw in the new house versus NCAA, you're now going to be spending pretty much right what you made. If you decide to spend the $20.5 million on your student athletes to help pay for them, spending, and you're doing this so that you can have the best talent. Hopefully have the best talent so that you can win. And so in the case of Kansas State in this example, now once again, it's a few years removed. I get it's not totally accurate, but if you use this as an example, right now, Kansas State went from making $20 million to being in the red by about $1 million or so. But they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot. Continuing, looking at the University of Kansas, for example, for their operating revenue was $128.4 million, and their operating expenses $124.2. So they were only $4 million in the black, and you throw in the fact You throw in that fact now that that's in the black. Now you throw in maybe possibly another 20.5 million. Now you're way in the red. You're way in the red of all that stuff. And their projections, they were going to operate with a deficit of around $2 to $3 million for the 23-24 year. That's what they were talking about. They said they went from a couple of years ago from being +4 to now being -3. Now, some of this has to do with KU spending more money on the football renovations and all that stuff for the stadium. I get all that. I went diving even more. I went diving into Nebraska, and their operating budget, they had about a surplus of around $6.7 million or so, something like that. That was 1 year, and then they had $14 million another, kind of the same as Kansas State. So my point is that all this money that is spent on hotel rooms, buses, flights to go participate in these sports all has to be paid for in some form or fashion through ticket sales, through advertising, through television dollars. All that stuff helps pay that money. Now you have to add in another expense on that list, and that expense would be paying our own athletes, particularly if we want to be good and competitive. Because if you want to sell more tickets, you want to sell more advertising, you want to get more eyeballs, you need to be good. And so now you have to kind of balance this out. Well, how much money are we willing to spend? How much more can we generate in order to put yourselves in a spot to make more money? That's why I'm curious, does this help or hurt regional colleges? I didn't even look it up for the University of Colorado. I'll see what that is real quickly here. I was going to see if I could find that, what their operating budget is. I don't even know at this point in time. I just want to have a good idea. So I know we got some Buffalo fans out there. I'll see if they can crank this up in just a little bit. But my point being, so you have this $20.5 million. And let's just say that you all have $20.5 million to spend just for fun. I don't know if they do. I don't know if Kansas does. I don't know if Kansas State does. I don't know if Nebraska does. I don't know if Colorado does. I have no idea if they're going to. If they're going to have that amount of money. But let's just say for fun that you do. You're going to divvy up that pie like we talked about yesterday differently. You're going to spend a good portion. Most, what you're looking at, what is our biggest moneymaker? And most of them are going to say it's going to be football. That's going to be our biggest moneymaker. It may not be our best program, but it's going to be probably our biggest moneymaker. So we're going to spend the most money on that. Now, like for an example, in Nebraska, rumors are it could be 75%. 75% of that $20.5 million is going to go towards the football program. And then another percentage, another 10 or 15% goes towards, or 10% goes to men's basketball, 5% towards volleyball, for example, in the case of Nebraska. What is it at Kansas State? My guess is it's 75% towards football, another 10% towards men's basketball. And then who knows where they're going to divvy it up after that. I don't know. This is where we talked about it yesterday. You're going to see everyone's going to try and get into the football conversation, at least try to. You got to think that of the Power 5, Power 4 conference teams, you're going to see them try and spend their most money in football because it's the most return on investment. But then after that, probably men's basketball, one would think. But after that, then you have to kind of pick and choose. What do you want to spend your most money on? What do you want to throw the most money at your athletes at? Do you want it to be? And this is where, once again, you could have a chance of becoming really good at something. Let's just say Kansas State wanted to become really good at baseball. Well, they say, well, we're going to throw a lot of this money at our men's basketball program and a lot of this money at our, throw a lot of our money at this, at the football program, obviously. But after that, they're actually going to throw more money at the baseball team. We're going to become a pretty good baseball program. We've had some success here recently. We're going to throw more money at the baseball program. Okay, fine. Go ahead and do that. So you throw that money at the baseball program, and who knows, you might get better return on investment. You might make more money. Baseball is typically a sport that does not make any money. It is usually a loss. You're going to spend more than you're going to make for most universities, unless your name is LSU, for example, or maybe Tennessee or something like that. For sure, LSU, they make more. They profit off baseball, which is one where they're going to probably put more money towards it to get the best players to make more money. But most are going to spend that money in football. And so, like I said, I am fat, but I know, like, for example, like Iowa State, does not have the $20.5 million. Their athletic director, Jamie Pollard, has come out and says, we don't have that money. We don't have that money to spend on our student athletes. So they're not going to be able to do that. How far behind the 8 ball is it going to put some of these teams? Because if you don't have that money, you're not going to be able to get the best talent. You're not, and then that means you're going to have to develop it even more, which some programs are very good at doing. Iowa State is one of them. But if in the case of Kansas State, you're going to have to become, I don't know. Kansas State has proven that they've gotten good boosters. They've got good money. They've got all that kind of stuff. It's, and on top of this, people might be thinking, well, you can make it up with NIL. To an extent you can, but there is now a clearinghouse which says anything over $600 has to get reviewed to make sure that you are not spending ridiculous amounts of money on one student athlete or not. And we'll see how that all works. I don't know. That could be a real cluster. But like I said, I think this, does it help or does it hurt regional colleges? Once again, I think it depends on who you are. Like, I think it will help Nebraska because they have the athletic, they are one of the few athletic departments that turns a profit every single year. I think Kansas State is kind of in that same boat. I believe they have turned a profit most years. KU is kind of riding the fence a little bit. I don't know for sure. That's a little bit close. So I don't know if they're exactly turning a profit. So I don't know about that. I don't think it's going to help Colorado personally. I don't think their athletic department turns a profit. So I think it depends on who you are, because you're going to have to, if you want to get some really good talent, you're going to have to spend the money to do that. But here's the thing. You can take the money that you want and you can invest it in something else. If you don't want to put your money in football, let's say you want to get really good at women's basketball, you can do that. The university at their discretion can say, we're going to put all this money towards women's basketball and we're going to become really good in this. And you can do that. And that's awesome. And that's great. That's fine. You may not get as much return on investment on that, but you're going to do that. That's the thing that I guess I'm so fascinated to see. How much does it help all these regional football? Does Kansas get better at football? I mean, Kansas is in a good spot. They've redone facilities. They're kind of like Nebraska. They've redone facilities. I just don't know about their annual return, their annual budget being able to cover that kind of players. But they've got coaches that develop really good. Same thing for Kansas State, although I think Kansas State turns more of a profit. Nebraska turns a big profit. Can they bring in the good talent and develop that talent? Colorado's had a couple of good players here recently. I don't know if they can consistently do that. We'll see. Could be wrong. I think it's going to be hard. But that's the thing. These colleges can now choose. Well, we would rather spend our money in this area here because this has been a sport that's been good for us, and we're going to continue to invest in it. And so once again, you could see like K-State baseball become really, really good because maybe that's a sport they want to invest in. That's the thing. You have the ability to invest. And so we could see certain colleges that we don't even, that don't have any recollection of any sort of history become kind of good in that because they're like, we're going to spend the money in that. Colleges that don't have great programs, like football programs, trying to throw one out there that's kind of in that way. Wake Forest, for example, it's a power program. Don't have a great football program. They could become really good in basketball. They could become really good in baseball because they're going to have that. If they have that extra money, which I don't think they have a ton of it, but if they want to invest that money towards something else, maybe it's baseball, maybe they get really good at it and they become a power. You can kind of choose what you want to be with this new model. The hard part is trying to be good in everything because it's hard to spread that money very equally. Very difficult to do. So I know I am very, very intrigued on what. First and foremost, I would love to know if you talk to each athlete, if you talk to Travis Goff, if you talk to Gene Taylor, if you talk to, I know Nebraska, I've seen it written in the reports of Troy Den, Rick George, do you have this $20.5 million? If so, how do you plan on spending it? I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear those stories. My guess is a lot of them would say, we're not going to have the full 20.5. We're going to be close and we're going to spend it on blah, blah, blah. I don't know what we're going to spend on blah, 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 blah. I would love to know those stories and hear those. I think that is fascinating stuff. So once again, does it help or hurt regional colleges? We're going to find out. I think in some ways it's going to help. In other ways, it's really going to hurt. And I think, once again, I mentioned this yesterday. This is something else to keep in mind. Sports that don't turn any sort of profit, that are like way in the red, because there's a lot of them out there. Let's say, for example, usually it's the Olympic sports, especially in the Midwest, your swimming, you're diving. In some cases, it's volleyball. In some cases, it's women's basketball. Like, those are not sports that are turning profits. They're not selling enough advertising. They're selling enough tickets. They're not giving enough television rights. They're not getting enough of that stuff to turn a profit and be in the black. So are you going to throw that money towards that if it's not? Because if you can't throw enough money towards it, then what? It's gonna probably be worse, isn't it? Like, that's the thing. I'm fascinated. And once again, how much can development of players and athletes, how much can that help change that? Because you're in a case of some colleges, you're not maybe going to invest a lot in volleyball, for example. Let's just say K-State, for example, here. You're not going to invest in volleyball. Your investments are going to be, once again, probably in football, men's basketball, maybe a little bit of women's basketball. It's been good here recently, and whatever else. What are you going to invest in? And if volleyball is way down the totem pole, you're not going to have a lot of money. So it's going to be really crucial about going out and finding good athletes to put on the floor and developing them. And that's the big thing, developing these athletes to be as competitive as you can be, because you're already going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to talent, more than likely. Can you develop it to make up that difference? That's the question. And the other thing, if you're way down the totem pole, unfortunately, sports might get cut. That's something we're going to be talking about, I think, here in the next couple of years. Sports getting slashed because, hey, that's a deficit in the budget. We could save $2 million, $3 million of expense here, put that into our pot to help keep these other ones going. Honestly, we could see that happening. It all depends on what university you want to spend it on. But like I said, a lot of universities operate in the red. They're at a deficit. And now you throw $20.5 million on that, it's extra difficult on universities with this House versus NCAA. And I think, once again, you're going to see in the coming years where they spent that money and where they didn't. And you better hope that if you spend it in certain spots, you're getting a return on investment. Otherwise, it's even a worse deal because you're going to be way in the red. But anyway, very fascinating stuff there, and something I'll be very intrigued to watch as the years progress on here with this new House versus NCAA, and how does it hurt or help our regional colleges. All right, let's take a break. We come back. Dawson Raymer, new Goodland Boys head basketball coach, going to join us in studio next. Look forward to visiting with him. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities, contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Monday, June 9th. On the overnight last night, July corn lower 2 3/4 at 4.39 3/4. September down 5 at 4.28 1/4. December down 6 at 4.43 1/4. March down 6 at 4.58 1/4. July soybeans up 1/4 cent on the overnight at 10.57 1/2. August down 1/4 at 10.50 1/2. September down 1/4 at 10.28. November beans up 1/4 at 10.37 1/4. Chicago wheat July contract lower 10 1/4 at 5.44 1/2. September down 9 at 5.59 3/4. December down 8 1/2 at 5.81 1/4. March soft wheat down 7 1/2 at $6. Kansas City wheat July contract lower 10 cents on the overnight at 5.39 1/4. September down 9 1/4 at 5.53 1/4. December down 9 1/2 at 5.74 1/4. March down 9 1/2 at 5.93 3/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $92 at 42,592. The S&P up 13 at 5,994. The Nasdaq up 41 at 21,807. Gold higher $1.30 an ounce at $3,400.50. Silver up $1.20 at $35.85. Crude oil up 96 cents a barrel at $63.81. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado Walks a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Saludo, Jared Slaw, or Tyler Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades. Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
They say seeing is believing, and nothing catches the eye like the 9.5 bushel per acre yield advantage of Revitec fungicide over other fungicides. But don't just take our word for it. See it for yourself. Run a comparison of Revitec fungicide. Enter the Real Results Yield Challenge and experience the difference it makes in your fields. And when you share your experience with us, you'll get a chance to win a 2-year lease on a new truck. Sign up at yieldchallenge.basf.us. No purchase necessary. See official rules for details. Always read and follow label directions.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Want to be part of the Morning Blitz?
Sometime I'll give you a piece of my mind, like right now.
Send your thoughts to the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222.
We are back here on the Morning Blitz. So glad you could join us. No matter if you're tuning in, of course, on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream or NWKSradio.net. Glad that you are with us here on this Tuesday, June the 10th. We're pleased to welcome into the studio a first-time guest, but a name that we've heard on these radio waves many times, whether he was a young man or now the new head men's basketball coach for the Goodland Cowboys, Dawson. Dawson, thanks, buddy, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ross, for having me. We're excited to be here today. Just appreciate the time that you gave me today. So,
well, I'm glad we could squeeze you in. I know you're probably a very busy man. How much has your head been spinning since you've decided to take on this position leading your alma mater?
You know, in all honesty, I don't think it's become surreal just yet. The boys are up at football camp right now, so we haven't had a lot of time to get to know each other and stuff. But once they get back there, we'll get the ball rocking and rolling. I think it'll become surreal after that. And then once the year gets started, once we get ready for the year, it'll become real.
So once again, Dawson Raymer, graduate of 2017?
18.
Graduate of 2018. And what have you been up to kind of since then? Kind of give us since you've left Goodland, what'd you do for college? Where have you been? What have you kind of been up to for those who maybe haven't followed you as closely?
Well, I ended up going to Emporia State for the year after I went to the Tech here, and then I transferred to K-State for my last 2 years. After college, student taught in Marion, helped coach with my brother Donald down there for Marion for a couple years during basketball. The year I was up there, coached cross country as well. That was a pretty interesting experience. Honestly, I had a lot of fun in that.
Yeah.
It was definitely a different sport that I had not been a part of. And it was interesting to see the interweavings of cross country as a sport and being able to help coach that team. They ended up taking third place at state that year. So we had a great group of guys there. And then after Marion, I was up at Center Law Springs, a small little 1A school in the middle of nowhere. And that school was great for me and working with the junior high boys and just the junior high sports program in general there. So
when you saw that Coach Dahl was leaving for other opportunities, I mean, what kind of what went through your mind? You know, I mean, was it kind of like, oh, here's an opportunity? You know, I know, I notice it just from my, you know, when you see an opportunity that you might like, it's like one of those, you're like, you know, we might have a shot at it, you know, and so you kind of get those feeling in your stomach, like, you know, I think I might have a shot at this. What was that like for you? And then what was the process of reaching out, or did Marty reach out to you, or how did that all go?
Yeah. Initially Marty reached out to me a few weeks before anything even happened. And I turned him down in all honesty. Didn't know if it was the time. I still thought I would be a part of the previous school that I'd be a part of. But when it came time when Marty called me again, I was like, all right, you got me thinking now. And so came out here for an interview, went really well actually. And I think the best part about it is when Marty called me back. He said, I got something for you. And he said, here, you can hang this up in your room. It'll be the first thing that you can have for your room. And it was our 2018 sub-state runner-up trophy that we got in Colby. And I was like, man, let me do some talking to somebody else, and I'll get back to you no later than today. So
that was an exciting tournament, by the way. That was nuts. You remember that was nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Over
it was crazy
at the community building.
Yep.
For those who don't remember, I mean, Lakin was it first round versus Lakin or second round semifinals versus Lakin, where both teams just shot the lights out of the gym. I mean, that place was rocking.
Yeah,
and then of course the tip in at the buzzer.
Yeah, that was crazy
for Wentz Hendricks following Levi Archer.
Basketball's a game of runs, and if you want to look at it that way, that was a perfect example of a big game of runs. I mean, I think we jumped on them early, then they jumped on us, then we jumped on them back. They made a great run, and we were down double digits in the fourth quarter, and then we made a late run and ended up getting the win.
Yeah, that was nuts. And then, Peaburg, you were close until about the last minute, and they made free throws down the stretch to make it look a little bit wider. And that team went on and got second, I think, at state.
Yep, they lost to Halstead on a game-winning layup.
Yeah, that's right, it was. I mean, that's like not to drum up bad feelings, but I mean that was one of the more talented basketball teams that Goodland's had that maybe didn't go to state, but I'm telling you, that was super entertaining. Dawson Raymer joins us in studio as the new Goodland boys head basketball coach. What's your thoughts on making this jump? I mean, I don't know the high school coaching profession all that well, but, you go from, 1A center, which is, I'm sure, a solid, program helping out with that and, assisting other to jumping up now into a 3A school, and in particular in a great league, as we all know that the GWAC is.
Great opportunity. Little nervous about it, but I think that, comes with the terrain. If you're not nervous, then you're not prepared, in my opinion. So exciting opportunity. We got a lot of great schools out here. The league has always been tough, even when I was growing up in it. I think it's gotten even better now. Football, basketball, baseball, softball, golf. I mean, all sports, the GWAC. It was always kind of funny when I was always telling people about the GWAC out east. They wouldn't tend to believe me about how good it is. And I'd be like, all right, watch, Holcomb be good in the postseason. Scott City's always good in the postseason. And then us here in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of good success too. So I'm excited for the opportunity. It's going to be a great challenge for me, and not a challenge that I want to run away from. I want to attack it head on, and we'll be willing to accept anything that comes along.
We're all pulling for you, that's for sure. You're just going to be the young gun, when you look around this league, when it comes to coaches. I mean, you're going to be the Kenny Dillingham of the GWAC. And it was so funny. I was visiting with Holcomb head coach Chad Novak, and he goes, heard you had a basketball coach. I said, yeah. I said, I know. I messaged him. I let him know that if you need anything, you let me know. That had to make you feel good. If you had other coaches from this league reaching out saying, if you need something, you let us know.
Yes, sir, it did. And, I texted Coach Novak back and said, I'm excited for the opportunity. I was once playing against you, and now it'll be a great time coaching against you as well. So he has one of the best programs in the state of Kansas. And it's a good person to look up to if I ever need anything too.
No,
so
that is for sure. Once again, Dawson Raymer joins us in studio, New Goodland boys head basketball coach, former Cowboy himself. Like I said, when you go away, you kind of learn things. You're here, you learn underneath Coach Dahl, you learn underneath Coach Bierman, for a while as well, and I'm sure you take those things and you reuse them in your coaching experiences over in the middle part of Kansas. And I'm sure you learned some other things throughout the time. What have you kind of learned from your experiences away that you hope to bring here? Because some people could look at it and be like, well, he played underneath Dahl, he played underneath Bierman. We're probably going to see the same things that we've seen in previous years. But you've gone out to other places and experienced other things. What do you hope to kind of bring back here?
Toughness for sure. I mean, the boys already have some of it, but we're going to bring it out even more. High effort, high level of intensity whenever we play. I've noticed from moving out and being on my own that teams with a lot of energy and a lot of effort usually end up doing fairly well. And so if we can bring a lot of energy, a lot of effort up and down every night on the court, I think we'll have a chance to put ourselves in a great place to succeed.
Of course, the previous few years, this program has been loaded with talent that hasn't been seen since you were playing, honestly. Now you're not that you're starting completely over, but you are going to have a kind of a different looking team. What are your thoughts on the upcoming years of Cowboy basketball with what you've seen? I know you haven't had a lot of time, but you probably have a good idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I believe the guys are really excited. This past couple of weeks, just the last week, we've only really done about a few things with Breakfast Club in the morning. But I believe the guys are still around here. They're really hungry to get after it. I know a few of them have been kind of behind that senior class that was kind of led the past couple of years. And I know they're ready to attack and get ready and, make a name for themselves out there. So if, they're hungry, I'm hungry. We're ready to rock and roll here the upcoming year.
I was curious, what's been the dynamic been like? You're only really 8 to 10 years older than these guys. What's that dynamic like?
It's great, honestly. I'm still figuring out a lot of the problem that I have right now.
You probably still get all the lingo too. That's probably the best part.
I do. There's a couple things out there where I don't know because I don't have any social media really. So, some of the things that they say, I'm like, okay, I have no clue what you said, but I know what you're saying there. And, it's always funny sometimes when you use it against them and they're like, whoa, what do they kind of think of you as the old head again. And I'm like, nah, I'm really your generation still too, gentlemen. So
that's hilarious. Dawson Raymer once again is in studio with us here. New Goodland boys head basketball coach, taking over for Coach Mikey Dahl. Have you visited with Coach Dahl much since taking his position?
I visited with him a lot last night. Just kind of helped me talk through some of the things to look forward to this upcoming year. Some things to avoid, some things to fight for. He's been awesome for me. I've always asked him for advice, even when I was coaching out east, and he's always been a great person to ask for help.
What about coaching with your brother for a while? What was that like to having the Raymers on the sideline? I can only imagine with time spent with the Raymer family, what that was like to see that with two Raymers on the sideline. I mean, how many times did you have to get pulled back on the bench?
Oh, well, I mean, a lot of times, from when he was coaching here, when I was coaching with him, he had mellowed out a lot. And so a lot of the times I was the one that was, probably riding the officials or, yelling at the guys. And a lot of the times it was him saying, you better shut your mouth right now. Cause I was never going to pick up a technical for him and make him sit the rest of the game either. So I'd know if he told me to shut your mouth, I was quiet the rest of the game. So it was real fun. I loved coaching with him.
Yeah, that had to be a unique experience. Gets coached with the brother. I'm sure that was really cool. I quick story time. So I called Dawson after I heard he got the job, and I said, "Welcome. If you need anything, you let me and Janessa know." And he goes, "Well, the only thing you're going to do for pricing, I'll probably just be a little bit harder on the officials. I'll be more intense." That was the first thing you said. So I guess for Cowboy Nation out there, they better expect some intensity on the sidelines.
Yep.
Not that Coach Dahl was not intense, but apparently you're going to be intense.
Yeah, I really do bring a certain level of intensity to my coaching, and I believe that it ends up going with the players too, because I think the players end up taking on the attitude and the dynamic of the coach of the team. And so, I'm an intense person, especially when it comes to basketball, and I want to win. And I know these boys out there want to win too. And so I think it'll be great for us to build on that camaraderie together.
What's the rest of the summer look like? You mentioned the Breakfast Club, which has been a big thing with Coach Dahl and stuff, getting in early, getting shots up. You were a big star. I think you were one of the big starters of that too, by the way, you and Henry Cole. But, the Breakfast Club, besides that, what's ahead for the schedule? Things that you guys got camps, you guys got summer league. What do you guys plan ahead here?
Yeah, we'll actually be out at Sweet Swinger this weekend. We're going to do the $100,000 shootout again. So if you're coming out to play at Sweet Swinger, we'd love to see if you can make a 150-yard hole out.
It's gonna be hot.
Yep.
Oh my!
We're excited for that. So if you want to come out and meet with the guys, we'll be out there at that Sweet Swinger. We'll be out there Thursday and Friday this week, and then the June 23rd and 24th we'll be at Colby for the little basketball tournament up there, and then the 27th and 28th we'll be up in Baldwin for that little basketball tournament there. And then really after that, there's PGU camp next week, and then we'll have our kind of official high school team camp after that. And then really once kind of July ends, we'll still maintain Breakfast Club. So
that's kind of the time for guys and girls to rest.
Yep, I agree. And then so really once the end of moratorium comes that week of July, we'll probably relax on things and then kind of let football take over. And then once football season gets ready to go.
Ramp it back up.
Mhm.
I understand. When is camp, and what do you kind of hope to accomplish with camp?
Camp will be the week of PGU camp, so next week, approximately later on in the night. Kind of the goals is just kind of learn basic defensive principles. I know a lot of these guys know how to play defense too, so that'll be real easy. Just kind of my basic philosophies there on defense and on offense. We're going to keep it pretty vanilla, plain Jane this summer, and then be ready to rock and roll during the school year.
Will fans see a lot of similarities to kind of what they saw with Coach Dahl because once again you played underneath him, or do you feel like you're going to bring your own flavor of offense and defensive mixtures?
There's going to be similarities that he had, and even with Coach Bierman too, there's going to be similarities in our coaching styles, but we're going to be a little different here. I don't know what that different may look like right now or during the season, but I am a different coach, so we're going to see some similarities, but at the end of the day, we're going to be a little different too as well. So
let's see how good of a diplomat you are here in your politics. Who did you like playing for more, Bierman or Dahl?
That's a great question. Both of them.
Of course, cheater. Well, Dawson, thank you so much for coming in, buddy. I can't wait to work with you. Always said, if people always ask, who are some of your favorite kids? Well, Dawson Rimmer was one of them. I loved watching him play. I said the guy was a dog. And if he can bring that to the coaching ranks, Goodland Cowboy basketball will be just fine shape. So look forward to work with you.
You'll see a lot of that on the sidelines, Ross. So hopefully they're going to be some times where
Raymer's after the officials.
Yeah,
again.
there you go.
Raymer's not real happy with the call right there.
You're going to be seeing a lot of that. And so I was actually joking with Coach Dahl last night. I asked him, I said, when over under on the amount of games till I get my first tentacle this year? So he actually gave me the benefit of the doubt. He said, I don't think you'll get one your first year. So I said, I don't know. We'll see about that.
I'll take the over on that. I have a feeling we're going to at least get one. Going to get at least one.
You probably will, but yeah. we'll try to limit those as much as possible.
That would be good. That'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to rock a tie on the sideline?
Yes, sir. I like to be a little old fashioned with it. We like to bring the best of both styles. You'll see me in tie. Sometimes you'll even see me just a sport coat and stuff. So
wow,
I really like to match with the coaches.
That'll be great. Awesome. Well, buddy, it's great to see you. We're welcome back to town. Once again, if there's any need to let us know.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ross.
Once again, that's Dawson Raymer, new head boys basketball coach for the Goodland Cowboys. Once again, excited to have him back here in Goodland. Okay, we're going to get to a break. When we come back, we are going to wrap the show with the College World Series field. It is set, and it's a good one. We'll talk that next for the Morning Blitz.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with ultimate fertilizer and gear up with Eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
This is Danny Zweigert with the Schooler Company. Since your crops are the most essential part of the global supply chain, let us help be your strategic marketing partner. Whether it's an extra truck at harvest, marketing your on-farm storage, or asking us about our unique risk management solutions, we have the tools to help you navigate these ever-changing markets. We are partners in helping your operation run as smooth as possible, and our local merchandisers are deeply knowledgeable about supply and demand and the current market movements. So give Schooler a call today at 785-890-3639.
Looking for a delicious meal on the go? Stop by Cowboy Corner in Goodland, Kansas. Start your day with our classic biscuits and gravy or enjoy a fresh, made-to-order sub sandwich for lunch. Whatever you're craving, we've got you covered. Our friendly staff is always ready to serve with a smile. And while you're here, check out our convenience store filled with snacks, drinks, and everything else you need to keep you going. Whether you're fueling up or just hungry, Cowboy Corner has something for everyone. Stop by today and enjoy great food, friendly faces, and a variety of snacks all in one spot.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
No one rambles on better than Ross Volkmer
All you do is talk.
on the Morning Blitz.
So glad to continue to be with us here on the Morning Blitz. Thanks again to Dawson Raymer. Love that guy. Got a great intensity to him. You can just kind of feel his moxie. You could always feel it when he was playing, and now you can feel it now as he's going to coach. I'm excited for him in the Dawson Raymer era. Be a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm excited to have him back in Goodland. That is great. Don't forget, folks, Rock the Block, our new in our NWKS Radio Summer Giveaway is going on now through the end of August. Chance to win big this summer. You could win a Rock the Block where we show up in rolling radio and have a huge party. We also have a big old giveaway with all kinds of great backyard prizes. So you want to go to nwksradio.net for more information or text the word ROCK to 785-460-0790. All right, as we wrap up the show here, I wanted to get to the College World Series. The Men's College World Series field is set. And for many people who've listened to the show before, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Growing up in Nebraska, we take great pride in the Men's College World Series being there in Omaha. Even though I'm not from Omaha, but I still take great pride in it being there. And boy, howdy, it is a great field. This year's field is awesome. First and foremost, it'll be a new national champion. The defending national champion, Tennessee, got knocked out in the Super Region round by Arkansas, who will probably be one of the two favorites to win it, either them or Louisiana State LSU. They're going to bring the two biggest crowds. They play in what is considered the best baseball conference, and they probably are going to be the favorites going in. But there is so much other great mixtures. There's Cinderella, Murray State, the Racers, which I think is a great story. If you don't read up about Murray State before the World Series starts, this is a program that plays at pretty much a high school baseball field. It's not much, and their head coach, Dan Skirka, has to mow the field. That's in his contract. He's in charge of mowing the field, just like a high school coach would be. And they are here. They were a 4 seed from the Missouri Valley, first Missouri Valley team to be here since 2003, and they are in Omaha. Really, really cool story is Murray State. They're in it. Arizona's back, who's a blue blood. Oregon State is back, who's a blue blood. UCLA has been a really good baseball program for many years, although back for the first time, I think, since 2013 when they won it. Coastal Carolina, an amazing story. Won winners of 23 in a row, probably the hottest baseball team in the country. They come in. They won it the last time they were in Omaha. So really great. I mean, the Louisville's in there as well. It's a great field. You have a mix of some new, some mix of some old, some mix of some powers, some mix of some Cinderellas. You've got a mix of both. And that's what I love about this field. I love the mixture. How about shout out to West Coast baseball and the old Pac-12, Oregon State, UCLA, Arizona. Now, that represents, of course, Arizona, the Big 12, or UCLA, the Big 10, and Oregon State, the Pac-12. But that was Pac-10, Pac-12 just a few years ago. It was that just a few years ago. West Coast baseball shining brightly in Omaha. Only 2 SEC teams, which is great. And the best part is they play each other the very first game. So more than and that means they're only going to have a chance of one playing in the national title game. Not an all SEC final. Great. Love that too. Dave Van Horn is back for Arkansas, which he'll be pulled for. Being the former Husker baseball coach, fans love him. I think he's great as well. They take an by the way, and a local tie once again. Arkansas assistant Nate Thompson is a Goodland High School grad, third base coach Nate Thompson. So pretty darn cool storylines across this Men's College World Series. I'm excited for this year. I love the field. It's a great field. So many great storylines, from the Cinderella of Murray State to the return champions after being gone for a while, UCLA and Coastal Carolina, to the powerhouses of Arizona, Arkansas, LSU, Oregon State, the Blue Bloods to say, and then you got Louisville, who's been a good program off and on for many years for Dan McDonald. It's a great field. Great field. 8 teams from 6 conferences plus an independent, as known as Oregon State's an independent in baseball. But I think it's really cool. All starts up Friday. Great field in the Men's College World Series. Great field.
High drive, deep left, grand slam, and back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Gray? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Well, the Florida Panthers just rolled in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final last night. They pounded Edmonton into the ice 6-1 to take a 2-1 series lead. I mean, there were goals galore for Florida. Sergei Bobrovsky, the goalie for Florida, had stopped 32 shots. And the Oilers were so frustrated. They racked up 85 minutes in the box. I mean, and there was fighting galore. I mean, the Oilers got completely pounded into submission, both physically and mentally last night. I don't know if they can recover from that. I don't know if they can. Game 4 is Thursday night, still in Florida. I'm telling you, the Panthers, I think, probably take a 3-1 series lead going back to Edmonton. But yeah, Panthers looking to try to win back-to-back Stanley Cup titles, and looks like they're on their way after that beatdown last night. It'd be a huge mental hurdle for the Oilers to get over that. And, of course, don't forget, both Royals and Rockies returned to action after days off yesterday. Kansas City is going to host the Yankees at the K. Colorado hosting the Giants at Coors Field. 6 Central Time on AM 790 KHPX for the Royals. 6 Mountain Time on AM 730 KLOE for the Rockies. Those are both pregame start times. First pitch at 6:40 Mountain and Central Time. Makes it easy. That does it for our program. Thanks again to Dawson Raymer. It was great to catch up and visit with him. Thanks to you, of course, for listening. Back again tomorrow on a Wednesday. It's the final show of the week tomorrow, and we'll have a special guest in studio for the entire show. Look forward to that. Should be a good time. So make sure you tune on in. That does it. Thanks for listening. It's been the Border Blitz. See you tomorrow.
Classic rock plays here. This is Rocket 102.5 KKCI.